YouTube's all loaded up here. Just give us a second. We are, I believe, good to go. Let me see. I'm checking. Let's see. There we go. Yep, we are good. We are set. Perfect. All right. Along with Brandon Furtado, Scoop, and myself, Robert Tolosi, after an amazing fire drill at the end of Ravens and Bills, a great way to end the Sunday. Thank you for actually fully ending your Sunday with us, Scoop, with your huge dag of coffee there. By the way, remember that coffee that I showed on Friday? I have maybe this much left of it.
Makes sense. I have
a good bit. So we love it. Brandon, no coffee in hand for you. No coffee in hand for me right now. I got water as you do. Yep. For today. All right, let's get going here. Baltimore, huge fire drill loss. Brandon and I was talking on the phone right before we got on about this game as we were watching it towards the end. This Ravens defense, actually a very similar games to what we saw last year for these two teams to roll 18 in the playoffs. But Baltimore, that defense, particularly Nate Wiggins, struggled a lot tonight.
Yeah, Nate Wiggins did. Marlon Humphrey, not too much, but he still gave up quite a few plays where it's about 7-8 yards a pop. Jair Alexander was terrible. He got shredded on deep balls often. Part of that's also just because the pass rush never got home too. This is a defense just in general on paper that is extremely talented. We say that every year, but in big games, the team never shows up. The defense never shows up in big games. It feels like every game we watch, again, like if it's the Ravens playing Cincy like last year, where they won both games but barely, or it's like this with Buffalo, the only time I can remember their defense showing up in a big game was their AFC Championship loss to Kansas City, and that's mostly because Lamar Jackson didn't really have that great of a game. But 9 times out of 10, when they're in big games, their defense gives up 30, 35, 40 points every single time. They don't stop anything, and it's I just don't understand it. It's a team that it's a franchise in general that when they've won Super Bowls, it's been because of an elite defense. We always keep saying why they can't get back, and for the longest time, I kept thinking, maybe it is Lamar's playoff performances, and it has been to a degree, but it's also been the other missing part of it is their defense can't stop a wet paper bag from scoring. So
every time it's a different comparison.
It has to be, right?
I could see a plastic bag drifting through the wind, and that would score a touchdown on the Ravens secondary.
Okay, Katy Perry.
It's just so bad because when you look at the names, they are so talented. It's Alexander, it's Humphrey, it's Wiggins. On the line, it's Matabuke. There's names across that entire defense, and yet every year, when it matters most, when they have to have it, they can't do it. So, tonight was a few things besides that, but when you score 40 points, you should win every game. And it just didn't happen tonight. A lot of that really at the end was the defense. But we'll talk about the other reasons in a second, but the defense has to get talked about first because you my God, guys are literally Josh Allen's extending plays, yes. So your defense is kind of stressed out, to cover everybody for that long. But there was, especially those last couple drives, Josh Allen is finding guys wide, just standing there wide open, 30, 40 yards down the field.
Particularly on the sideline, they couldn't cover both sidelines. It was unbelievable.
I don't get it. It's like the Buffalo Bills receiving corps is nothing to write home about. It's a bunch of kind of misfits. Khalil Shakir is nice, but Josh Palmer's nothing special. They throw their running backs out of the backfield a little, quite a bit. Dalton Kincaid's a good tight end, not a great one. there's not really like many receiving options, and not much of there's not many vertical threats on that team. Like Keon Coleman's nice, but I don't think he's anything great special. But the thing is, they always find ways to just get open, especially when you're playing Baltimore. Baltimore just seems to, no matter who they're playing, to just give up deep shots at will, and it's like we're starting to sit here and wonder why that they don't show up like come playoff time, why they haven't won anything. It's really kind of a two-headed monster. It's Lamar's playoff performances, but it's also, well, I should say three-headed monster. It's Lamar's playoff performances, it's conservative play calling, especially later in games, which is the other problem that we're going to talk about a little bit, and it's the defense. It's really, that's what it comes down to at this point.
Yeah. Scoop, do you agree with that sentiment?
Somewhat. I am going to push back on a couple things. Because you mentioned the three-headed monster at the end. And first off, I do want to say, and I think that I know that the Lamar playoff narrative has been a dead horse. It's been beaten for the last 5 years. But I will say, the last 2 seasons he was in the playoffs, in those 4 games, he's got a 67% completion percentage, 7 touchdowns, 2 picks, passer rating of 106, and of course what he's done on the ground. So I think that this narrative that he's the same quarterback in the playoffs that he was pre-COVID era, I think that narrative needs to be dispelled a little bit. I don't think that it's fair to hold him accountable for now. I mean, I know they're always going to be part of his record, but I don't think it's fair to hold him now as if he's the same quarterback as he was in 2019. You know, a lot of these veteran quarterbacks, you know, we don't hold them to the same, skepticism or cynicism from their second year, and I don't think it's particularly fair to hold Lamar to that. And another thing that I will say, I do agree with you on Jair Alexander and a lot of what you were saying. I do agree with you on the conservative play calling. I think that that's been an issue for a lot of these sort of veteran coaches from the Belichickian era. You know, it's not just him. I think it's the Mike Tomlins of the world, the Pete Carrolls of the world. I know that there's other guys whose names I'm forgetting from that period of time. Belichick, obviously. So I think that that's something that a lot of those defensive head coaches from the early 2000s, I think that's kind of a common thread for a lot of them. I think that now I will say I know that Harbaugh was a little more of a special teams than defense in some areas, but no, it just, and the issue is, like you said, there's a lot of talent, but it's not cohesive.
Yep.
And when you think of the Baltimore Ravens, like there are just certain teams that you think of a team, you either think of a position group or a position or whatever. Like we've talked about with the Packers, it's usually QB. With the Steelers, it's usually head coach. And with the Ravens, it's usually defense. We go back to the early 2000s with Brian Billick and company. Obviously, those defenses with Ray Lewis and et cetera, et cetera. But it's just they're just not that now, and they are and I've been critical of teams like Buffalo for a while of they're so talented but they can't win the big game. I think that right now that's become Baltimore. I think that that's become I think that they've become the team that it's like, okay, we talk about this with a lot of teams. We talk about this with Pittsburgh. We talk about this with Green Bay. We talk about this with Buffalo. Like all these teams that it's like, yeah, they're great on paper, but they can't win the big game. I think Baltimore is entering that conversation. And but the misnomer that I think is that people look at them as that and they think, they automatically think, it's tied to this narrative or tied to this issue with Lamar in big games or Lamar in the playoffs. That is the one area that I will push back on, because I don't think that matches up the way that it did 5 years ago.
I will say, Scoop, I think part of it, obviously, is sometimes not even the numbers. I mean, the numbers are important, absolutely, but it is the fact that we pin this stuff on the quarterbacks. Like we're still pinning it on Allen for not getting to the Super Bowl either. So it is the fact that, like, yeah, the numbers tell a different story, and absolutely that is worth telling. But it is the fact that at the end of the day, it is on the quarterback, regardless of what happens. And yeah, it's a misnomer in the sense that, like, yeah, a defense can have a bad playoff game and we'll still remember the quarterback. I do understand that as well.
Yeah, no, and again, I'm not saying that like he gets a pass that other guys don't, but I've heard people say there's a difference between this quarterback's not winning the big games and this team's not winning the big games because of the quarterback. The narrative was
I think that's fair.
The narrative was the latter for so long, and I think that, and I'm just saying that I think that is missing the mark a little bit based on the way things have trended recently. Obviously, the NFL is about the Super Bowl, and the teams are about the quarterback in this day and age. It's running game and defense are not going to propel you, with an average quarterback, despite what people want to say about certain teams. But in this day and age, you live and die with your quarterback, and we've seen it with teams like the Bengals that turned around seemingly overnight when they got Joe Burrow. So, but again, you can go to the playoffs, 7 years in a row. If you lose the wild card game or the divisional game every year, who gives a crap? And so they definitely do have some things to evaluate there. But it was sort of the cause and effect that I had a bit of a different perception on, I think.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And Brandon, when we switch to the Bills, we finally have a Superman that we can actually talk about with this, because David Cornsweet is now our actual Superman. Thank God we actually have a proper Superman now. I love Henry Cavill. I have him on my wall back here. But still, David Cornsweet's our Superman.
That's my friend's celebrity crush.
Yeah, I get it. I get that. I understand that for a lot of women in this world. I get that. But Brandon, it's honestly Josh Allen being David Cornsweet's Superman. We can label it directly now because of what DC's done, but also just it's still an issue, right? We talk about it every year that James Cook needs to run the ball more, and he got some carries tonight, and you can also transition this into your pass accuracy stuff that we were talking, or that you wanted to bring up today. But the David Cornsweet Supermanness is an issue.
It's just, my God, like it really is. I look at Josh Allen every year, and it's like, it's like this is why, like, him versus Lamar. Like, Lamar had a good playoffs last year, so it's like I think the narrative's starting to change. I think the year before, the numbers look good, but he still had he was below 62% completion percentage in the 2023 playoffs, so it still wasn't where it needed to be. It wasn't MVP Lamar. So last year, I think, was the first one where he really actually did do well. But I think, like, when I look at Josh Allen, I look at, like, his overall body of work, what the Bills seem to rely on a ton is just, I mean, even tonight, he had to throw the ball basically 50 times for them to win that game. Like, and that could have been, like, early on, that was part of the reason why they were going 3-and-out and they were falling behind in terms of falling behind Baltimore in this game. You can't throw the ball on 3 straight downs every single drive. Like, you just can't do that on almost every drive. There are so many drives where they're getting the ball right after either Baltimore scored or kicked a field goal or whatever, and they're not down by much. They're only down by 3 or by 7, hell, even by 10 at one point, which is not a lot in football. And you're coming out on 1st and 10, and you are still trying to throw the ball on, like, every time you get the ball back. You have James Cook. He is a 1,000-yard rusher. He never touches the ball enough. I can count maybe on one hand how many times in a season he gets 20 or more touches in a game. That's criminal. It's criminal. Like, this is, for some reason, he'll get stuffed, and this is what you were mentioning on the phone with me, Rob. He'll get stuffed 1 or 2 times on a drive, and then you don't see him touch the ball again on a run play for like 3 straight drives.
Yeah, they give up on him pretty quickly. It's so weird. Like,
yeah, in today's NFL, especially when you have teams like Baltimore, like that have a Derrick Henry, or like Philly that has a Saquon Barkley, or a Josh Jacobs in Green Bay. Yeah, thank you. But when you have those guys, you have to do a little bit of both and lean on them, and then also rely on your quarterback to throw the ball when they need to. But you can't have a quarterback just in today's game. I feel like a quarterback you just cannot win games when your quarterback is constantly throwing 40 plus times a game. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it does. I hear you. It doesn't work. And I'm going to transition you into the numbers that you saw today because I think that was very interesting. Scoop, do you have something to say before we get to those?
Yeah, well, just real quick, because I had gone back, and I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but I've gone back and I've done some looking into that. And you go back to the Roethlisberger Steelers, and even the Dak Cowboys now. There's almost there's a very strong inverse correlation between throwing more than about 40 or so pass attempts and winning percentage. Typically, the higher your pass attempts are and the more imbalanced your rushing versus passing is, typically that's an indicator of more losing than winning.
Yeah, and Brandon, that leads perfectly into what you're about to say here.
Yep, because I looked at it because I was actually curious. I was talking on Discord, and I looked at because today, the Patriots only lost by 7, right, to Vegas? So they were never behind. By a ton of
20 to 13. They were never really behind by a lot.
They were never really behind in that game. So and same thing with the Saints Cardinals game. The Saints only lost by 10. They were never really behind like that, like to the point where they had to throw so much. When you look at and now Josh Allen tonight, he's like kind of the one outlier, but that's 1 out of 10. Out of the top 10 guys through week 1 so far that have thrown basically in the top 10 in pass attempts through week 1, how many of those guys in the top 10 do you think won their games? Rob knows, but how many?
Guess?
How many guys in the top 10 do I think won their games?
Yeah,
I'll go with 2.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, 2. It's 2. Right on the money.
It has to update tonight, so it could be 3 because Josh Allen had a ton tonight. But okay, so yeah, it just updated now. So in the top 10, we have Allen 1. I mean, shouldn't have, but he did 1. Drake May lost. Spencer Rattler lost. Joe Flacco lost. Michael Penix lost. Bo Nix won, but it was ugly. Should have lost. Goff lost. Mahomes lost. Wilson lost, and Purdy won. So you have only so that knocked out the other guy that was top 10 before.
I have a question. Was Purdy at the bottom of that list?
Purdy was 10th. Yep.
Okay, so you could even argue. I mean, your case gets even stronger if you say in the top 9. That's only 1, right?
Yeah, in the top 9. Yeah, so basically in the top, or you can say top 8, just in the top quarter of the league out of 8 out of 32. Only 1 guy won, and in the top 10, only 2. And the thing is, when you get towards the bottom of this list, and I was telling Rob, when you get from basically about 12 on, so from 12 to or even just 12 to 25, forget 32, from 12 to 25, that's 13, 14 guys. I think 10 or 11 of them won. So I hate it when teams get so pass happy. And the thing is, a lot of times it's just your running game. You're trusting your running game, but you gotta trust your running backs to not only sustain drives, but to eat clock. Because we've seen this a lot of times when teams get too pass happy and they keep going 3 and out in like 30 seconds. You're not going to win a lot of games. You're just not.
That was a big factor we saw today in the Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo completely just ate them alive in time of possession, and and I'll take the reins for Brandon here in being making the requisite token Philly mention of the week. We remember going back to the Chip Kelly era, when we were so focused on up tempo and yada yada yada. And what did that mean? Man, our defense was on the field for 39 minutes a game, and then they ended up 32nd in the league.
Yep,
it's a perfect example. I mean, I do think some of it is okay. I have to look back at all these teams, but the one example too that I kept thinking about was the Patriots. They don't trust their running backs. They don't know what they have right now at the running back position, and that's a massive concern.
But then here's the thing,
I have to look
too.
at the rest of the league too on that. But go ahead.
The thing with that too is that they don't know what they have, but you don't know unless you find out.
You gotta figure it out. Yeah, you gotta let them go.
Out. You can't have Drake. Drake May cannot be throwing the ball 46 times a game. Like that's a recipe for disaster. And the funny thing is, Mike Vrabel in Tennessee when he was there, I don't remember him ever throwing with Tannehill like that. Like, he had Derrick Henry back there, he would hand the ball off. So, and I think
and Henry wasn't their only good back. They had another guy up there whose name's escaping me right now.
Yeah, I think, what was it? I'm trying to remember. I cannot remember off the top of my head. Yeah. But like that's the thing is, like, he is usually typically a run heavy kind of coach. I mean, he had Derrick Henry for years, but he's a run heavy guy.
They really didn't use Justice Hill a lot today. Only 2 carries.
No, and that's another thing too, is that, and this is another problem with, like Josh Allen won the game, yes, but that was more so at the end of the Ravens, just their mistakes at the end of the game, than Josh Allen winning it. Now, so he's the outlier. Like, he's the one that can throw, that many times and win a bunch of games. But that's superhero ball.
For a while, that wasn't the case, though. He used to be very turnover happy.
Exactly.
Right. Early on in his career, absolutely.
But then that's the risk you run. Like, there were passes today that he threw that should have been picked off. There was quite a few times where
I said the ones on the sideline, most defenders would pick that off in most cases.
Yeah, because a lot of them were just floating in there. And I'm like, okay, he's completing these passes, that's great. But when you throw 46 times, and yes, he can do it, but that's where you get a lot of turnovers. Like that, you cannot put the ball in the air that many times. It's like when you look at all the guys that won, basically the sweet spot for a quarterback is 30. When you look at a lot of the guys around that 30 mark or less, they basically all won. Like, I'll give them to you right now since I got the list right here. So, Herbert 34 won, Mayfield 32 won, Trevor Lawrence 31 won, Aaron Rodgers 31, Jaden Daniels 31, Matt Stafford 29 won, Daniel Jones 29 won, Kyler Murray 29 won. Ward lost at 28, Stroud 27. Darnold 23.
Ward was in his debut, though. That's a different.
I cannot wait to talk about the Titans. I'm going to tease that right now. I cannot wait to talk about the Titans.
But look how many guys. What is that? From 14 to 25. So what is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 12 guys. Out of those 12, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that won. 8 out of the 12 guys won that had 30 or less pass, or around 30, low 30s pass attempts, and won. So, that's the big problem is if you're in the NFL, you have to mix the run and the pass. Otherwise, it's not going to work, especially in big games. If you get into a shootout, that's different. You're going to have to throw the ball back and forth because both teams are just going up and down the field. But when you have games where, especially a lot of these games with these quarterbacks who threw a lot, they were never down to a point where they had to throw the ball on 3 straight downs to come back in the game. It's mind-boggling that teams, for some reason, especially in this week 1, but it just seems like in general, a lot of teams in the league, they'll get down by 3 points, by 6 points, 10 points, and they panic. Why are you panicking? Why are you throwing? Don't get away from what you know, because the thing is, you also want to give your defense a break. If your defense is getting killed on the other side, you don't want to keep throwing the ball and going 3 and out. So while the game is still intact, figure out creative ways to get your running backs involved. I'm not saying that you stop throwing altogether and just run 3 straight downs, but on 1st and 10, like I was saying tonight with the Bills, you're only down at some points. They were only down by 3 or by 7, whatever it was. Why are you getting away from James Cook? James Cook tonight, actually, let's look at how many carries. James Cook tonight only had 13 rushing attempts.
Crazy.
If Baltimore did not, if Derrick Henry doesn't fumble, and if Baltimore's defense just doesn't completely.
That's what I was going to mention next. The next thing I said, that was going to be the next thing I said.
Because if he doesn't fumble and if their defense just doesn't completely crap the bed at the end of the game, that's how the Bills have lost so many games in their Josh Allen era, because they're asking him to throw 40 plus times and James Cook's only running 15 or less. You just cannot win. This is also what's gotten them in trouble against the Chiefs every year, getting right to that golden gate and never crossing over, because the Chiefs aren't just putting up 75 points on them. The Chiefs aren't beating them by a ton. These games aren't like straight up shootouts. So I don't understand why Buffalo insists on just which I know Josh Allen has a strong arm. I know he's talented, but the superhero ball with Josh Allen has to stop. I'm not saying you have to change the type of quarterback he is, but you
can't make him do it for all 4 quarters. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
I will say, I think some of that was almost forced by design, because keep in mind, for a while, he didn't have the O-line. He didn't have the running back. So for a while, that they kind of had no choice but to win that way and kind of rely on his weapons and his defense.
Early on in his career, but he doesn't need to do it anymore.
That's what we've been saying. That's what we've been saying for the last 2 or 3 years since they know what they have in James Cook. Why aren't you used? Or hell, even Ray Davis, who was a good change of pace back. Why are you not getting these guys involved more in the game? It's like, you know what you have in James Cook. He's a 1,000-yard rusher. He can rip off 5 yards of carry. We know, we've seen this. And it's just they refuse to do it. I just don't understand the over-reliance on having – I know Josh Allen's great. Going to be a Hall of Famer someday. But the over-reliance on him to win games, you've got to – that's one – what's the one thing that people have always said, I will use another Eagles thing. What's the one thing that people have said about Philly as to why you can't stop them? Because their offense is like pick your poison. They can beat you with the run, they can beat you with the pass, they can beat you with a short pass, they can beat you with a deep pass, they can beat you with a pitch play, they can beat you with an inside handoff. It doesn't matter because they know how to do everything. They're a well-rounded offense that can do anything at any time. When you become one-dimensional on offense and you just strictly throw the ball and you strictly rely on a certain set of plays that cater to your quarterback's playing style, like Josh Allen being a gunslinger, you want him to get outside the pocket and rip one deep, things like that. But when it comes down to crunch time, teams know that that's your tendency, and they will feed on it. And it's not conducive to winning the whole thing. It's just not.
Yeah. Right. All right, let's move forward. Dolphins Colts. Yikes. Okay. No QB this century has scored on every possession. Daniel Jones did that today against the Dolphins. That was per Scott Hansen. By the way, that includes kneel downs. So they didn't kneel at all. So he scored on every single possession. No Peyton Manning, as Scott Hansen said. No Peyton Manning. No Tom Brady. It's Daniel Jones. He stands alone this century doing that, which is unbelievable. We can talk about that for sure. But what we really need to talk about, Scoop, is what does Miami do from here? This is unbelievable. This is like, what do they do? What do they do at Tua? Tyreek Hill, was also pretty pissed off. What do they do?
Well, I will say, if people remember, go back to several months ago, back in the winter, we had that whole controversy about Tyreek seemingly requesting a trade, then walking it back, and that whole ordeal, basically saying he needed to contemplate his future in Miami. Well, this is a hell of a way to start that process of contemplating your future in Miami
again, because he's doing it again. I'm pretty sure from the winter to now. Right.
But I go beyond that, and I think back to I think back to Tua Tagovailoa. There we go. I can speak. Last year, who made it through 11 games, and of course, we all remember the horrific, the injuries that he's dealt with, the multiple concussions, and it's the uncomfortable question, but you have to ask: is that going to be something that's going to affect his play going forward? Having what he's gone through. Is that a factor in why he's struggling? Now, again, it's one game. I don't want to be the overreacting guy. Yeah. But again, when you start off this type of a season, again, we weren't going. This was not a staunch a Denver defense in Mile High to start the season. Like, they weren't going in against a team that was expected to be a top 3 defense in the AFC this year. So to put up only 8 points, you had to bring in Zach Wilson for 8 plays, and he completed 5 of 8. And Tua completed 14 of 23, I think it was. So I'm not saying that they completed or that they had a comparable amount of attempts, because they didn't. But when Zach Wilson's looking better than you, even as a backup, that is concerning to me, because for a period of time I was saying Zach Wilson was the worst NFL quarterback I've ever seen. And so again, and y'all know what a huge Tua fan I am. I mean, I'm a longtime Bama fan. I love Tua. I've been rooting for him since he got to Miami, and I've considered him the greatest quarterback in Roll Tide history. But I do have to ask that question, I think, when I see play like that, especially with some of the throws that were being made, because again, this is not a defense where you're just like, I have no idea where to go with this thing, and this is not an offense that's lacking speed or lacking weapons or whatever. Mm-hmm. For a period of time, we were saying this was one of the more underratedly loaded offensive in terms of weapons and speed in the AFC. So a quarterback who, for a period of time, was one of the most accurate quarterbacks, even though people called him a stat patter, one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the AFC, all of a sudden drops a 2-interception, 1-touchdown game with, less than 60% completions against the Colts in the season opener when he had weeks to prepare. I'm sorry, there's red flags to me there.
Yeah, I'm just going to I just pulled up to his contract, 25.46 $25.46 million this year at age 27. Age 28, he's at $39 million next year in 2026, and then the potential out is 2027. So still a couple years left on that contract, Brandon. But red flags. Almighty. Yeah, but as Scoop said, red flags galore even after 1 week.
I mean, the scariest thing is that even last what was it? I think it was in 2023, he had his first concussion, and we're like, okay, it's one concussion. Last year,
first in the NFL, he had one going back to his college days.
Yeah, I should say first in the NFL.
Oh my God, I forgot about that this whole time.
So yeah, Jesus. I almost block it out. Thank you, Scoop. But and then last year he has several more, and we're talking about this guy's future, not even just as a football player, his future as a human being.
Exactly.
And, I understand. To me, before we even get to just Tua's play, I think it's Sarish is a Dolphins fan, but even Sarish knows this. Longtime friend of mine, Dolphins fan. I talked to him about this, and he's like, we talk about Tua, Tua's kind of like, he's not playing well, but it's not just that he's not playing well. It's the fact that he shouldn't be playing, period. When you've had that many concussions, you should not be playing. It's one thing to have one or two. He's on his fifth or sixth. That's not normal.
Fifth or sixth, and he's what? I think 28 years old.
Yeah, and
27. Yeah. 27. I'm
27,
sorry.
Yep, 27.
That is a lot. That's a lot for stuff. And the thing is, they've said if you've had one concussion versus none, your chances of developing, different kinds of brain, issues later on, it goes up by 10 times the amount.
Yeah, when you've had one concussion, but then when you've had two, it's as if you've had So it's going up exponentially. It's not going up incrementally. It's going up exponentially with each new one. And of course, even if he's not getting more concussions, he's still susceptible himself to 60 minutes of physical. Let's just call it what it is: physical abuse weekly, just in games alone. That's not to add practice. That's why I mentioned what I did because again, is it one? A factor of just his play as a result of that, or two, could it be him being protective of himself with certain things because now he's trying to play almost in a defensive mentality?
Yeah, and Scoop, as you alluded to, I mean, and people might say, oh, why are you talking about the concussions? It is the most important part of talking about Tua.
Yep.
It feels like there's no other part. You can't just talk about his, he had a bad game today. We'll talk about why he had a bad game, why he shouldn't start. No, it goes far beyond that.
And that's why I brought it, because it's not like we've had 4, 5, 6 years of body of work of clean play since his last concussion, and he just came out the gate today with a stink bomb. We're literally less than a year off of his most recent concussion that we know of, at least. We're less than a year off of his most recent concussion, and we came off with this against, again, a defense that not necessarily that they were going away expected to win today. They sure as heck weren't expected to lose by 25.
No.
They shouldn't have lost this game. That's just the reality. Going into this week, it's not about losing that by that much. Yeah. You shouldn't lose, period, against this team.
He was on the same field as Zach Wilson and Daniel Jones, and he was easily
the worst quarterback
on the field.
The worst quarterback of the bunch.
Like
unbelievable.
That's where it's like the alarm bells just go off between, are we sure he's okay to physically do this job after his injury history, and then to look that bad, and compared to the promise that you showed coming out of college, and how they thought you were the next great thing in Miami.
And may I bring something else up? If we go back to last year when he got that hit, there was a lot of people who said that he came back sooner than they should have.
Yep,
absolutely, yes.
There was a game earlier in his career in the NFL, one of the earlier concussions, where he was allowed to finish the game.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
which was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, you know what it is too, and this is where I was kind of going with it too. It to me, just quarterback play aside and how bad he was today. It, in my eyes, and I don't think I think most people would agree, and it's just, and I don't want if he wants to play, the thing is, your body, or your mind might say, I still want to play, but you gotta listen to your body, and it at this point, to me, it is medical malpractice to let Tua play at this point.
It's also not even just listening to your body. You're going to be Tua Tagovailoa, the NFL Miami Dolphins or whatever team quarterback for the next 7, 8 years if you're lucky. You still got 40, 50, 60 years after that to be looking at.
Remember what came out when Brady was still trying to play in this league, at 45 years old. And Giselle at the time, I said, "Oh yeah, he's had concussions before, but they don't talk about it. Like he's never really missed."
I don't remember that, to be honest with you.
She came out and she kind of overspoke. She kind of overshared that. Oh yeah, because Tom was like, "Oh yeah, I've never had because there was a thing that came out that Tom Brady's never had a concussion in this league, and he's never been put on an injury report with a concussion." But then Giselle was like, "Oh yeah, he's had concussions before." Just that they haven't spoke about. They haven't listed him
and that was before it started getting pretty big too in terms of the health and safety piece.
So like what Scoop is saying, these are ones that we know about. So can you imagine how many maybe even minor ones there might have been, so anything like that? So it's like yes, you want to sustain a future in this league, and every player does. You want to be in this league for a long time, but you gotta understand the risk that comes with it when you've been battered that much. We don't wanna wake up one day and hear about something bad happening to him. There's the thing with they did I think a 30 for 30 on the 85 Bears, right? And Jim McMahon.
Yeah.
And when they showed Jim McMahon the inside of his house, and this was maybe 10 years, 10, 15, 10, 12 years ago or so when they did this. So imagine even now as he's older, they showed his medicine cabinet in his house, and they showed his kitchen.
I know what you're gonna say.
His kitchen counter, and it was lined with pill bottles. And he's like, I literally sometimes. He's like, I can't get up in the morning without taking a bunch of these pills. He's like, I literally have to remember every day to take literally almost 2 handfuls of pills just so I can function, just so I can live, because he got hit so much, especially back then in that era. And he's like, I suffered so many concussions. He's like, there are days where I wake up and I can't remember how I went to bed. I can't remember even taking a shower. I can't remember even my name. I can't remember. Like that's the reality that unfortunately we don't want it to happen. No one wants it to happen, but that's the reality that Tua might have to live with. God forbid something happens again. It's already been too much. So it's scary. It's really scary. And the thing is, now that his play is really starting to suffer, I mean, it's only week 1. We'll see how it goes. But if this continues, you got to pull him to the side and be like, hey, we can't do this anymore. We just can't.
Yeah. I know this wasn't like the biggest game of the week from the early and late window, but can we talk about the Titans?
Yeah.
Can we talk about how mad I was watching that game? I'm not a Titans fan. That pissed me off. That was 3 hours plus a weather delay of some of the most frustrating football you could imagine in week 1. Cam Ward played really well. Like, he really did.
Mm-hmm.
He played good football.
The numbers won't show it, but he did.
Yeah. He played really good 4 quarters of football. And Calvin Ridley, I have him on my fantasy team, fucking all those 20-plus drops that he had, there was 3 major ones in that game that would have changed Cam Ward's stat line, and because of that, they should have won. And that offensive line is awful. That, like, it's so bad. So bad. But genuinely, Cam Ward played so well, and you just shot his confidence. You cannot, if you're the offensive line, the receiving core for the Titans, you cannot play like that for your rookie quarterback. You cannot. In a game that the Broncos, let's be honest, bad day. Felt like a preseason game. Bad day. Awful day. Titans have to win that game. It doesn't matter how the rest of the season goes. You have to win that game for your rookie's confidence. He looks really good. Tonight we should be talking about, hey, Cam Ward had a spectacular day. He's looking really, really good. We're really excited for his development. We're going to talk about that on this show, but I'm telling you, most of the shows that are doing shows right now and tomorrow are going to talk about, oh, he had a bad game. Look at his stat line. That's completely unfair. He played an amazing game, especially for what he was given.
Can I jump in on that real quick?
Oh, absolutely, please. It just pissed me off to no end.
Because there is a number that I think can kind of bring into some context as to what that game was like and what he had to deal with. You mentioned Calvin Ridley. I'm going to add another name onto that. Elik Iomanor. I'm butchering that. Ridley and Iomanor combined 6 receptions on 15 targets.
Jesus Christ, man.
Less than half combined.
Unbelievable.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
It pissed me off. It pissed me off to no end because I was like, these are some of the worst drops you'll ever see. And it's not just like, oh, there's a corner there. That was like somewhat of a bad throw. These guys are wide open.
Yeah.
And these are dots. These are beautiful throws, Brandon. That just never got completed.
Yeah, so someone even said that there was like 2 straight drives that like Tennessee had, or I think it was actually posted on like social media by like I forget who, some like BR Gridiron, someone like that, some account like that. It was like Tennessee's like there was 2 drives there where it was literally drop, punt, drop, punt, and I'm like, oh my god, and then someone said no, I'll fix it for you. ... punt, ... punt. So like, you know, saying how Cam Ward really got screwed by his own team. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a performance from a team where they like it felt like it almost felt like sabotage. Like
that's why I'm pissed.
Like
that's why I'm pissed.
Like I know it's not blatant. Like I know it's they're not trying to lose. But were you even trying to show any effort out there, or try because when you have that many drops, that's not just a like a mistake. That is a complete and gross lack of focus and attention to detail, and just not caring about not being prepared at all, not caring to show up.
You know who was prepared? Cam Ward, and you didn't help him at all.
Yep.
At all. Scoots, do you have any more to add?
Again, everything that I could say really comes back to what I just said. And that's not even talking about the defenses on either side, but it's like the Broncos. I mean, at one point I looked, and I think it was even before the half. Bo Nix, who I love, had already thrown 2 picks.
Yep.
And they were bad, too. They were really bad.
So Denver clearly was not on their A game today. If Denver's not on their A game with that defense, and I still think they've got a very good offense over there, if Denver's not on their A game, you got to pounce on that thing.
Yeah, 100. Like, the Broncos played a preseason game. They just didn't have it today.
Yep.
We can skip over that. But if you're the Titans, you can't skip over that.
No.
You cannot. That is unacceptable beyond belief. It just, and I get it. It wasn't the big game on the docket today. I don't know how many people watched it. I watched it in the red zone. It pissed me off. I'm sorry. I keep saying I'm pissed off. I really am, guys. It made me rage. I'm raging.
You want to hear this? You want to hear about their offense for a second here? I know you've seen it, but look at the, like, when you hear this is mind-boggling. Listen to this. The Titans led for most of the first half and never trailed by more than 1 possession. But Denver's defense took away Ward's best options on the perimeter and pressured him throughout the second half, whatever. The offense converted only 7 first downs and netted 32 yards in the half. And then here's another thing. The Titans also, and this is the damning of the whole team, not just the offense, committed 131 yards worth of penalties.
A lot of false starts. A lot of false starts, by the way. Most of them were false. Most of them were false starts.
Hello, I can't talk. I'll also mention something here because what happened this offseason with the Titans? I know Cam Ward, but what else happened this offseason with the Titans?
Lockett is like the main one.
Now where I was going with that. No. So they lost Vrabel to they didn't lose him. Vrabel's now coaching the Patriots, and they've now got a new coach in there in Tennessee.
Callahan. Oh, Jesus.
In Brian Callahan. What a scathing indictment. I know that he was coaching them last year too, but what a scathing indictment of his first first like full off season preparing this team and having a quarterback that I have to assume he had a heavy hand in picking. And way to just completely not only throw him to the wolves in his first, but basically throw him to the wolves and then just completely turn your back on him.
Well, not give him anything of any help.
And
by the way, did Lockett get any targets? I didn't see him once. Hold on a second.
Hold on, I'll tell you.
I didn't see him once.
Lockett got 1 target.
Yeah, but no receptions.
Oh my God.
No receptions, no yards.
Oh my God, man! He basically wasn't open because I'll be honest, I didn't see him at all.
What's speaking of the whole Brian Callahan thing, and where I already lost. The moment I lost faith in him, you know where it was, because he wasn't wrong going about this, but this is the problem with a younger head coach and where the franchise is right now. It was the same issue I had with Antonio Pierce in Vegas and Mayo in New England. What Brian Callahan did last year, I think it was even for not just one game, I think it was 2 straight weeks back to back. He called Will Levis basically a bum. He basically threw Will Levis under the bus for 2 weeks publicly to the media after the game. Right there is already a scathing indictment of what your culture is like. And we talk about culture all the time. But right there, that already shows the kind of coach you are and the kind of person you are. You're supposed to be a leader of men as a head coach, and you're doing that to your players. And that was last year. So now coming into this year, after this performance, I would not be surprised if he is fired halfway through the season.
I would not be surprised either. I'm not even a Titans fan. I am scathing mad. And again, it wasn't even the big game, but I had to talk about it. Last couple of games here. We'll save Niners Seahawks for Shane tomorrow. Lions Packers scoop. The Packers, look, Micah Parsons didn't have a lot of snaps. Wasn't expecting much from him. But just his presence alone, Scoop, made a massive difference to the Packers defense.
Absolutely. And again, the thing about Micah is that you can call him a linebacker, you can call him an edge, you can call him a number of things. He's so many different things on your defense. He as an individual player, we talk about teams that can beat you so many different ways. He as a player can beat you so many different ways. And the Cowboys may have had like 3 or 4 serious suitors for him. There is not one team in the NFL that couldn't have gotten better with Michael Parsons on their defense. Not one team.
Yeah.
There's not one team that shouldn't have at least made a call to see what it would cost to get Michael Parsons in that building. And and it's just, and I also think too, and I bring this up when massive trades are made or massive free agents are brought in. I also think there's a psychological impact that happens on other members of that team, particularly in a defense, if we'll say it like in the NFL, where it's just, oh, we got this star, we're really going for it this year. And I think that's just, I think that there's something that connects differently for players when they see that, when they see, oh, especially again, let's keep in mind, this is Green Bay. This is the team that is notorious, that is the poster child for draft and develop and not going. Whoops!
Did you drop your drink?
Yes, I did.
That's what I thought.
Did you spill it? Please don't tell me you spilled it.
Look how passionate we are. We're so angry.
For drafting and developing, and for not going out and making like these aggressive acquisition type moves of like veterans and one thing or another. So for Green Bay to go and do that, I have to imagine it was just another level of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Brandon, as Scoop said, and as I acknowledged at the beginning, that psychological impact was felt beautifully by this defense today against Detroit. A really good Detroit team that just didn't have it against Green Bay at all.
Yeah, I mean, you could see, and it's interesting. Detroit's game plan. Knowing that Micah Parsons was on a pitch count of sorts, but also that he was out there anyway. Micah Parsons is one of the is a speed rusher. When he comes off the edge, he's flying fast. He's got blinding speed, literally at that position, and that's why he can play outside linebacker and he can play defensive end. That's why he can hop around on either side of the line, on either end of the line, and what have you. But you're Detroit, right? And you're running so many swing passes and like little bubble screens, and I'm like, you do realize Micah Parsons is somewhere waiting out there, right? Like just waiting to make a tackle.
They put him in on a lot of really key third downs. Sorry to interrupt, Brandon, but they put him in on a lot of really key third downs that made a big difference.
And that's a big thing too with Green Bay. Green Bay for the last few years, it's one thing they've lacked. They've lacked pass rushing. They just cannot get to the quarterback. Well, you just got a guy now that can. So, and he lives in the backfield, both just hitting anything that moves back there, whether it's a running back or a quarterback, or a wide receiver on even a jet sweep, he could stop them dead in their tracks. So it's literally a thing of like it is psychological. It's just a mental thing. It not only boosts the morale of a defense to have somebody like that can just impact a game on one single snap, and it can let you breathe, new life into just a team as a whole when they see that. The offense gets fired up. They might get the ball. Like that's different. Having somebody like him is a difference between having to get the ball back on a punt and get the ball back and have to go 70 yards down the field versus, getting the ball in the enemy territory at like the 35-yard line because he can force a fumble or it can stop a team dead in their tracks. So
right.
It's such a big difference when you have guys like that can change the momentum of a game, can just change the game in general by being that explosive and just their presence. Because now it's like, if he's not there in Green Bay and you're looking at that line at face value, you're like, okay, you don't take it easy. You don't take anybody for granted, but in your mind, you do sit there and you're like, okay, which one what are these guys good at across this front seven? And what's the best plan of attack? But with Micah Parsons, it doesn't matter how you game plan because he's a game wrecker. So, the only it was never a question of his talent or his speed or athleticism or whatever it is. The only thing we always say was, he doesn't show up in the second half of the year. We'll see how that goes as we get deeper into the season. But as of right now, as of September 7th or now 8th on East Coast time, first week of the season, and he's only going to get more. He's going to get playing more snaps next week, and probably by week 3 he'll be playing the entire game. That is such a big boost that Green Bay has needed for the longest time. What's funny? Green Bay addressed a lot of things this year, and I don't think we talk about it enough. But they addressed some things that they sorely needed for a very, very long time. They went out and addressed the wide receiver position in the draft. They drafted a wide receiver for the first time in the first round in how many years? It was over 20 or something like that.
23 years, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
So they went out and did that. Then you address something that you haven't had on that defensive line since you won a Super Bowl, and that's pretty much a really, really good, consistent pass rusher. And not even just pass rusher, just a guy coming off the edge that can hit anything that moves. So it makes a world of difference when you just address the little things that you've ignored for so long. And today you saw it. Like I think in our Pick'em League, me and you, Rob, we picked we picked Detroit to win.
Yeah.
And Green Bay.
Scoop, what did you do? Did you take Green Bay?
In the Pick'em League?
Yeah.
I have no freaking idea.
Okay, no worries. Brandon, continue.
But like, we're sitting here thinking like, week 1's going to be a sloppy game, but Detroit on paper should win because of all that talent that they do have. And just by Micah Parsons and just by having a guy like Golden on the offensive side, it looked like, at least for today, it changed the entire dynamic of that team. This finally looks like a Packers team that hasn't seen life since Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl. 15 years ago.
And that was what, 13? Oh, yeah, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 14, something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Scoop, anything else on the Packers?
Well, I'll just say this, and it's not so much about the Packers, but it's about it. Well, I'll just speak. But
Go ahead.
What intrigues me with them is that they're kind of looked at obviously as like I mentioned, kind of like the old school, like the sticking to tradition, yada yada yada. But let's take stock of them, and we've seen this several times in the last few years. We saw it with, I think most notably, Geno Smith. Yes, I'm going to bring him up again. We saw him with. Excuse me. You could say that we saw it with Baker Mayfield, who already showed some. Darnold could be another one. But my point being is just, I think we're so quick to think that, and it doesn't have to just be a quarterback. We're so quick to see, we don't like what we've seen from this guy in 10 weeks or 12 weeks or one season or even a season and a half or 2 seasons. He's automatically a bust. Let's get him out of here and try again. I think that there's a lesson here that there's value in drafting and developing guys and being patient. There is, and it's the Seahawks are reaping the benefits now of a team that didn't know how to draft and develop and be patient. Shocker, the New York Jets. By the way, the Jets Steelers game, that was quite an interesting game.
That will be our last game of the night. We're going to get to that shortly.
Yeah, I look forward to that one because I got some stuff to say. But anyway, it comes back to that, and again, how many people were ready to write off and cast off Jordan Love as one of the worst first round picks in recent memory? Who's laughing now?
I
never thought that. I just thought he was hurt the whole damn year.
Yeah. Well, the injuries, I think mostly.
But so many people, whether it was media, whether it was NFL, whatever you want to say, and I'm looking now and I'm thinking maybe there's something to be said for when you have a CJ Stroud that pops in Houston in the first 15 minutes, it's gonna but. Just because it worked for him doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. And just because it doesn't work for somebody else doesn't mean it's the only pathway to success. And I think that there's something to be learned from NFL teams there, particularly the NFL teams that can't get it right at quarterback if their life is dependent on it. The New York Jets of the world, the Chicago Bears of the world. I'm sorry, I don't believe in Caleb Williams. The list can go on and on.
Cleveland.
Cleveland. The list can go on and on. Even though I think Cleveland had it, right at quarterback and screwed it up. That's beside the point. Sorry, Grandpa. But I'm looking at this through the Packers the last couple of years, and I'm thinking to myself, could other teams in the league? This is what I don't understand. Why are other teams in the league not trying to learn more consistently from the teams that are doing it consistently every year? The Green Bays, the Seattles, it used to be New England, but the
Phillies, the Kansas Cities, the Buffaloes.
I wanted to say Philly, but I didn't. I was hoping that Rob would, so I wouldn't come off like that.
In this case, you have to say Philly, right? Like, but
it's just like I don't understand. And what do these teams do? A lot of them are patient. A lot of them are, they're building from the trenches outward. I look at these teams that are just completely doing the antithesis of what most of these franchises are doing, and then wonder why they're stuck in purgatory every 3 years, why they've had 19 coaches in the last 5 years, why they've had
quarterbacks,
20 quarterbacks, why they make 27 draft picks every year and only 2 of them make it, and 1 of them usually makes it for another team. It's just I don't understand. So anyway, so that was kind of the point that I wanted to make. There was that not so much about the Packers per se, but what I think it represents for the broader of the league, and just things that I'm shocked that other teams have not seemingly picked up on. And I'll be curious to see if what we've seen recently, more than I think we were before, with these sort of slow burn or second act or second life quarterbacks. I'll be curious to see if maybe this kind of pumps the brake on these. We're going to punt on this guy after 19 games. Now, with the caveat of if you've got a Johnny Manziel or you've got may he rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins, or you've got some of these other guys who are just wreaking havoc off the field in their first 1 or 2 years, that's a different story. Mm-hmm. But if you've got somebody out there who's just completing 57% of his passes, or who's throwing more picks than you would like, I'm sorry. It's a little bit different in the NFL than it was at North Dakota State.
Brandon, do you have anything to add to that at all?
It's like in this league, like we're saying, so many of those bad teams, it's like they cycle through quarterbacks like crazy. But it's I don't understand. But the thing is, it all starts at the top, right? When we talk about all these teams doing the wrong things, like most of the teams, we're all so quick to blame the GM for things and the moves that they make. But a lot of the bad teams with bad GMs, their owners are usually terrible too.
Jerry's double.
That's usually I think where it comes from. I mean, typically if you have a bad GM, like look at the teams that have had bad GMs. Almost 100% of the time, it like you said, it correlates with bad ownership. Whether it's the Jets, the Cowboys, it's and again, it's because often it's got. I'll add on to that. Often it's because you've got an owner who is so business and Wall Street oriented, and thinks he knows football more than he does.
Like, yeah. But the crazy thing is too is like we always forget, like, Sam Darnold is only like entering his late 20s. Like, yes. Like it's like he's not old. But in the NFL, like, because there was like, his Jets tenure was so bad and all, this, that, and the other thing. But it's like, well, when you don't give a young quarterback who needs, like. This is what's the problem. Especially like in New York sports media, because this happens a lot, where they'll be so quick to blame. I mean, the quarterback, especially like in the Northeast, in this area. Oh, Giants, Jets, even Philly at one point before Jalen Hurts. Even when he got drafted, everybody's like, "Oh, why are we taking this guy? Why are we like?" They're backing on him so hard.
I was one of them.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were all bewildered at that time, but
Yeah.
you're looking at it as like, okay, we're already harping on a guy where the college tape is not bad, but so it's like Sam Darnold's college tape was not bad. Jalen Hurts' college tape was not bad. Like Daniel Jones was picked a little too high. It was a reach, but his college tape for what it was not bad. So like. And then we're sitting there when they go, like when they play their first ever game, and then it just snowballs from there. Like, oh, this guy sucks. This guy's no good. I'm like, but the GM is not building around him. The ownership is not there. They don't care. They're checked out somewhere else on a beach in Hawaii. Like if you're Woody Johnson, for God's sake, you don't care about the team.
You're in the UK, or was in the UK.
Like. Yeah, so you have all these these ways of doing things that are just so ass backwards. It's like that's just a poor business model. It's a poor way to run your team, and then your players suffer for it, and then they suffer, abuse from the fans, and then things like that. And it's really tough to look at those situations. Like, we're in our mid-20s. When you're in your 20s, life has really barely just begun. And we're already casting off quarterbacks at like 24, 25 years old who've had like 3 years of being a starter, but they haven't been that great or what they've been promised. And they immediately get all this blame. But like when you look around them, what have they been given to succeed? They've been given crappy coaching, a crappy GM that won't build around them, and then the players that they're stuck with are just as crappy. So it's so disheartening. Like Sam Darnold right now is figuring it out. I mean, today was a little bit rough, but it's one game. But last year Sam Darnold was fantastic, and we saw a little bit like some flashes, but the year before in San Fran, you could see him turn it around. He's only entering his late 20s. Like the thing is, it's such a league that sports are driven by being successful. Like everyone wants to be successful every year, but the teams that are successful and build dynasties in the long run are the ones that build and for lack of a better term, ramp things up over a long period of time. They give it, like Scoop's saying, like they give it a chance.
Yeah,
you can't sit there and just throw a guy into the fire and expect him to work after a couple games. Like,
can I? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Scoop.
No, please go ahead, Scoop. Finish that up.
Well, it's just because. I mean, and let's just common sense for a second. How does the draft work? The worst teams are picking early.
Yeah.
So if you need a quarterback, which is usually why you're picking early, then it's usually going in with either a new coach, a new GM, or both. Usually a beaten up O-line, usually a lack of weapons, or
new OC,
or a bottom three defense that's going to turn them into a shootout almost every single game. So by definition, usually these rookie quarterbacks are being put into situations like that unless they are so lucky and got drafted by a team that had a veteran quarterback retire, and then they came in with a built-up roster around them, or something of that nature, or
took a year off like Mahomes, where he didn't play the first year.
Oh yeah, sorry, I thought you meant last year. I was like, what are you talking about?
No, Alex Smith. But yes,
yeah, I got you. Well, and also let's back up to that real quickly, because that's kind of a similar, that's another leg of this spider. It was a weird to say, but is you look at somebody like him, and people look back at him and say, oh, he wasn't looked at like Deshaun Watson, or he wasn't looked at like Mitch Trubisky or one thing or another from that year. Okay, but and this doesn't take anything away from Mahomes' greatness and being still one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, even though he got rocked this year. Do we honestly believe that without Andy Reid, without sitting behind Alex Smith, who was a great quarterback in his own right, even if he's not a Hall of Famer, you can still be a great quarterback even if you're not a Hall of Famer. Sitting under him, in that Chiefs offense, which even though they hit another level with Mahomes there, they already were a very good team ever since Big Red got there in 2013.
Consistent playoff team.
Exactly. So and again, I'm not somebody, and I actually hate when people do this. I'm not somebody who's going to bring somebody down because he was in a good situation. No, it's literally impossible to succeed in the NFL in the big ways without help. This is not, and I'm not somebody who's going to penalize success because you had help. And when people do that, and honestly, it ticks me off. But the point that I'm making is that going back to my comments about the draft, as a quarterback, you're being put into situations where not only are you having to adjust to a new level of competition, you're having to adjust to a different type of offense. You're likely having to adjust to a different scheme that maybe that either you didn't play in college, or that's faster than you played in college, or whatever. And then and you probably came from one of the top programs. Not necessarily, if not in the in SEC or whatever, likely in a Power 5 or at least in your conference, and now you're going to one of the worst at a higher level of competition, and we're expecting these guys to learn it all in 8 to 10 to 12 games. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
Ran over.
Yeah. It's
and
fine.
there's one. We're going to see a perfect. We're literally on the precipice of seeing a perfect example of this.
Cam Ward,
not just Cam Ward, but what happened with the Giants today? They don't even think Russell Wilson's going to start next week. They want to see Jackson Dart. Do you really? I
don't want to see Dart in that offense. Jesus Christ!
Thank you. Like so many Giants fans. Are like they were bashing Russell Wilson online today, and
he was not good.
Dart might actually get killed behind that offensive line.
Thank you.
Yes.
This is what I'm trying to tell people. Why?
Because if I remember correctly, wasn't Andrew Thomas out today?
I think so.
He was. Yeah.
But even if he comes back,
if he's out again next, oh God, help that kid.
He shouldn't play.
And that's the thing.
He shouldn't play this year. The plan was not for him to play this year.
Thank you. That's why I don't understand. Like, the Giants are hitting the panic button after one game. I mean, Russell Wilson's not what he used to be. We all know this. But your succession plan, first of all, it should be Jameis. If it's going to be anybody, it should be Jameis. It's not. This should never be Jackson Dart in week 2 with a garbage offensive line, running backs who really can't create anything because they're behind a bad offensive line, and your only legit weapon is Malik Neighbors, who's already pissed off at your head coach. So,
he's pissed off at Russell Wilson too. He's pissed off at that whole organization.
He hates that organization already. So
I apologize. I'm just checking the Giants. Who are the Giants going? They're going up against the Cowboys next week. Okay.
Still no. Is that in Jersey or is that in Dallas?
It's in Dallas.
Okay. Well, that's interesting to me because obviously Dallas being the number one, brand, I'm very curious to see how, if they do that, I'm very curious to see media-wise what the coverage of that is like because, way to go from being on the bench your first week to having literally the most eyes on you perhaps in the entire country.
Wait, really quick, even more eyes because week 3 they're going up against the Chiefs at home on Sunday Night Football. Sunday night.
So wait a minute. So who's playing?
You are just setting up that kid to be an absolute disaster show.
Thank you. This is finally, Jesus. We're all saying it. Like, I don't understand why are we so dead? The Giants, even with Jackson Dart, even if he plays well, where are they going this year?
I'll tell you what it is. It's TV ratings. That's what it is. It's TV.
Well,
it's TV.
It's
TV,
but it's also the Giants being stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we saw it with I mean, we'll go back to we talked about Cleveland earlier. We'll go back to 2014. We all remember. I was literally at the draft when this happened. When Manziel was sliding. He got past the Cowboys pick, and the quarterback coach at the time, DeQuell Loggins, texted with Manziel, and Manziel texted me and said, "We're going to wreck this league." And then DeQuell Loggins told the owner, Jimmy Haslam, "Pull the trigger. We're going to go get this guy." And he went to make a splash, and he was selling tickets. He was, the fanfare was up and whatever. That's what these owners are. I'm very confident that's what these owners think with these things. It's going to sell. It's going to make headlines. It's going to make headlines. It's going to sell tickets. It's going to, make buzz online or whatever. I genuinely think that that's part of it.
But see, I just think that's not good. Like, we can't.
I'm not saying it's good at all. I'm just saying that's what I think it is. I think the logic sucks.
I'm not saying that's the case, but like, the frustrating thing is clearly Dart should. Like, I'm fine him being QB2. Fine, I think he deserves that spot, but that should be a spot all year long. Simple as
that. Like, and the thing is, if Russell Wilson were to, God forbid, get hurt, I would still want Jameis in there over Dart.
Yeah, long term, but I'm okay with him being QB2. I'm okay with him being on the sideline. Exactly, he's in a I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
And here's the issue too with so many people and a lot of Giants fans were so quick to crown Jackson. I mean, people do this all the time. People make this mistake all the time, but they're so quick. And I'm just saying because we're in 2025. This is the brand new season. They're so quick to crown Jackson Dart the new, king of the Northeast, king of the New York area, and I'm like, because they're like, because both him and Russell Wilson played in the preseason or whatever, or him and Jameis played in the preseason, and Jameis looked worse than he did. But I'm like, but here's the problem: Jameis was always going to be a backup. Russell Wilson is way past his prime, so we know he's not good anymore. So Jackson Dart, by comparison, there's nothing he can do that will look worse against third and fourth string players.
It's the preseason. Why are we? I hate people that overreact to the preseason.
But because
that's why I don't even watch it. I don't watch preseason for that reason.
By the way, I don't watch it either. I got so bored of it this last 2 years.
But that's what I'm saying is so he's looked so great against second, third, fourth stringers. If you put him in next week against guys who have been starting in this league for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, veterans, especially with how crap that offensive line is, he will get murdered behind there, and it will not only look bad for him, it will kill his confidence, and all of a sudden you're putting him in a situation where it's a lose-lose. He's stuck there for the rest of the year. So it does not make sense.
Especially if he starts, he gets his bell rung for 3 games, and then you bench him again.
Yep. That's kind of kill him. That's the big problem with this, and it's it just. I understand that Giants fans want to succeed, and a lot of the guys in TCA chat, they're reasonable. They understand the Giants, even no matter who's the quarterback, won't go anywhere this year.
I don't know what you're talking about now.
But Rob knows
we have the New Jersey boys kind of chat area thing.
Oh, okay, all right,
but then that's the thing, right? Is are you hungry to win because you've been stuck in a rebuild the last 15 years with the Giants? Yes, but you got to understand where your team is at this current point in time. You are not going to win anything, and your team, your GM, your ownership, they refuse to build from within. They refuse to build in the right spots. They are not doing enough. Even that defense today, it's only week 1. But that defense was supposed to be lights out on paper. They were not. And honestly, the only reason why that score wasn't worse was because Washington's offense dropped a lot of passes today. Speaking of drop balls, there was a lot of drops, a lot of miscues in Washington's offense. Otherwise, they'd probably hang 40 on them. So when you're putting all this together, you want to stick Jackson Dart in that situation because you just think it can't be worse than Russell Wilson. That might be the case. It might not be worse than Russell Wilson. But in the long term, you will end up killing Jackson Dart in more ways than one instead of just letting the season ride out, letting him learn, letting them get all the bad football out of the way this year and get ready for next year with a year under his belt, smarter, more confident, and finally ready to take over the starting reins instead of throwing him into the fire and letting him die in this season.
Yeah, I don't think Dart should start at all. That shouldn't even been the plan. All right, Scoop, finish us off with Steelers Jets.
Okay, so I will say it was uh, on the off-field side of things. So obviously, we knew this was going to be the Aaron Rodgers reunion bowl. This had a lot of attention for that in particular. Aaron Rodgers did what Aaron Rodgers does, and he kind of made some comments, basically saying, I want to beat or I want to beat anybody that has any connection to the Jets. Or I'm paraphrasing, but essentially he made a comment like that, which say whatever you will. But from an actual football standpoint, this came on and the very beginning of the game, Rodgers almost immediately looked at home in this Steelers offense. He completed, I think it was 4 of his first 5 passes, if I remember correctly. The game ended up being somewhat close. The Steelers did end up only winning by 2, 34-32. And for a period of time, it did look like it wasn't going to be quite as close in favor of Pittsburgh. And actually, the Jets did take over the lead for a period of time before the Steelers came back in the fourth quarter. But Rodgers, 22 for 30, threw 4 touchdowns. Jalen Warren was not a huge factor on the ground, but did add 11 carries for 37 yards. Again, 34-32 was the final score in favor of Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers just completely throwing the ball all over his old team in their stadium, which obviously I can't think of a more New York Jets thing than that. I will also say as well, and again, I do kind of have to throw in my Philly side of things here. It was nice to see Darius Slay get 5 tackles. Also saw Alex Highsmith get a sack. So there's from a fan's side of things.
Jalen Ramsey looked good too.
Jalen Ramsey looked good. Completely had forgotten that Kenneth Gainwell now played for the Steelers.
Kenny G.
Pennsylvania, I guess, just decided to just kind of swap guys back and forth across the state. But yeah, so it was a closer game than I thought it would be in the very beginning. But ultimately, unsurprisingly, the Steelers did take the game. And Rodgers, again, like I said, 22 for 30, 244, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Completely made himself look very at home in black and gold, and definitely left a sour taste in the mouths of Jets fans, as I'm sure he intended to do. And that's really all I can say.
Yeah. On the flip side, Brandon, for the Jets, look, both defenses were really bad. This is a great start for Fields and Jets offense. Like, as sucky it is for the Jets to lose, this is the most positive you could ever feel after a loss, it feels like.
Oh yeah, if you're a Jets fan, I mean, listen, you still might not do much this year, but your team looked competitive. I mean, at least offensively, looked very, very competitive, and actually looked like it had signs of life for the first time in years. So, the best part about this game, and this is, Rodgers will get the headlines, future Hall of Famer playing in the stadium he's played the last year, because really 2 years, but we know what happened in the first year, done for the season early. So, played there all last year, the reunion game. But not for nothing, this was also a Justin Fields reunion game.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I shouldn't have overlooked that.
So
it was literally the reunion quarterback bowl.
Yeah, this literally was just team swapping. That's pretty much all in the end all it was. But
yeah.
But Justin Fields, he
had 3 touchdowns, and 2 of them were on the ground, and 1 was in the air.
Yeah, that's just what's tough about this. But why you should be happy if you're a Jets fan about Justin Fields, despite losing this game, when you realize that they lost their best offensive lineman for the year, pretty much.
Yeah, Vera Tucker.
When you don't really have a line now. When you only have, Braylon Allen, I still think is okay, but he's not great. But Breece Hall is your starting running back. We had a really good game today. But you have a running back, but no offensive line, and you only have 1 good wide receiver. The rest are all bumps. Plain and simple. Let's just call it like it is. So you're only three guys on that offense that are worth anything. Is Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. You know who had big days? All three of them. And what's tough is Justin Fields did enough to win that game. He was at one point even they were up by 9, up by 2 scores later in that game. So I don't understand, where this came from out of Justin Fields, but he literally turned water into wine today with how he played. His throws were decisive. He looked confident. He stepped into his throws. Pretty much all those throws that he made were on the money. I think he had a better completion percentage than Rodgers even. Yeah. Actually, looking it up, he completed almost 73% of his passes. That's how good it was. So, quarterback, his quarterback rating was 119.1. Rodgers was higher because of all of the touchdowns. But Justin Fields had three.
But also, in fairness to Fields, he got 2 of his touchdowns just on the ground.
That's what I'm saying. That's where I was going. He had 3 touchdowns of his own, 2 on the run. Justin Fields was matching Aaron. They were matching each other stride for stride in this game. But Justin Fields has the way worse team, and the fact that they pretty much should have won that. I feel about Justin Fields in this game the same kind of way I feel bad for Cam Ward. Cam Ward played so well, got no help. Justin Fields played well, has no help outside of maybe 1 or 2 guys, and that's it. So and lost. He played his heart out and lost, just like Cam Ward did. So this is why I kept saying even last year, going back to Justin Fields and the Steelers, they started out 4-2 with him. He had 5 passing TDs, I believe, only 1 pick. His completion percentage, I think, was high. It was close to 70. And they were still winning games with him. It didn't look bad. It didn't. And they gave up on him in favor of Russell Wilson, who played not that much better, only maybe a little bit better.
They just did deep ball the whole year with Russ.
But it's like they lacked confidence in Justin Fields. But last year he showed the makings of what this game was the culmination of. This was the first time I looked at Justin Fields and said for a full game, for the first time, I was like, wow, that's the Justin Fields I saw at Ohio State.
Thank you. Exactly.
That's Ohio State Justin Fields. That's right there today. Was if you get that all year from Justin Fields,
you have your quarterback.
Yeah, and then also don't be surprised because people are like, the Jets might finish last, or whatever it is. The Jets, given how the Patriots played today, it's only 1 week, but given how the Patriots played today, and given how the Dolphins are in disarray, I'm not going to say it, but they can make a push to finish second in this division and put a little bit of pressure going forward for next season on Buffalo.
At bare minimum, even if they finish 7-10, something like that, if they get enough out of Justin Fields, you're potentially looking at maybe instead of what everybody assumes and going and getting a QB in the early middle first round, maybe you're doing what I said that Chicago should have done with Justin Fields in the first place when they had that pick that they used to go and get Caleb Williams. Maybe you're going and using and getting that an offensive piece to help build that team around him rather than trying to replace him. That's what
they want to keep him long term, 4-year deal. They feel confident in him, and it shows.
He's only 26. He's only 26.
Thank you.
Like the quarterbacks in this league on average, they play past 35 years old. So when you think about it, with the deal they gave him, okay, so, and you finally saw the flashes today. So, like we're saying, if he continues to play like this, he's not every week is going to be like this, but if he gives you enough of this throughout the year, you have to reward that. You have to, and give him something to work with next season. Because, and the thing is, I was never a big Justin Fields guy coming out of college. I never was. But when you look at what he had with the Bears, nothing. They were god-awful terrible, and there were games that he had to win by himself with his legs, and he did. And so there was a couple little smatterings of hey, he's making the most out of what he's got. And you get to Pittsburgh, a little more started shining through. So this is finally a Justin Fields Ohio State game that he had today. And if you can just reward him on that, because listen, this is the Jets. This is Woody Johnson we're talking about as an owner. This is one of the most garbage people and owners in football. Like, so
tell me how you really feel, Brandon.
It's true. Like
I know, I know it is.
It's just it's I'm not even a Jets hater. I feel bad for Jets fans. I feel bad for people like our boy Josh and TCA chat and the Jets fans, because it's like they have to suffer through this crap every year. But now that you finally get a chance to see what a guy is made of, and it's like we're saying, it's only week 1, but to do that against a team like the Steelers, who pride themselves off of defense, and Justin Fields wrecked their defense today, and who pride themselves off of being a pretty much a perennial playoff team, and that the culture of where the Steelers, we've got this many Super Bowls, we always get to the playoffs. The fact that you showed that you could go toe to toe with them, and that you didn't just tuck your head in between your legs and let them just roll you over and stomp you. That is beyond impressive. And the thing is, it's not like it was a close game where it was like a 16-13 score and both teams looked bad and the Steelers won, and we say, oh yeah, the Jets hung in there like they've done in previous years. They hung in there, but they looked good while doing it.
Can I add another point, please?
Yeah,
of course.
Mike Tomlin has been coaching the Steelers for almost 20 years. Aaron Glenn has been coaching the Jets for about 20 minutes.
Yep.
Aaron Glenn came in as a defensive background head coach. So all these things, there's a lot of talk, there's some discrepancy about it, but there's a lot of belief in the NFL that the young quarterbacks typically are better off suited with the offensive, head coaches, et cetera, et cetera. So you've got a defensive head coach in there who's never been a head coach before, who's come in and is coaching in the Jets, God help his soul. And, and you've got, again, Justin Fields, who's also playing in his first game for the Jets. There's a lot of things. I know we're waxing poetic for the last couple of minutes, but I'm just saying there's even more factors than I think we're touching on as to why this game is something to. I was listening the other day to somebody talking about how there's really bad wins and there's really good losses. This is about as good of a loss as you could have if you're a New York Jets fan.
It really feels like a win.
This is not your average New York Jets. Well, this kind of feels almost a little bit like losing the battle to potentially put yourself in position to win the war.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, to me, it feels like a win. All right, are you guys ready for the post-credit scene?
Yeah. Give it to me.
This was planned for tomorrow, but obviously we're doing Nightcrawler tomorrow since Shane isn't here. It's in the chat. Go take a little peek there.
Let's see.
Go take a peek.
I don't know how to access the chat on this website.
Just go on your phone. I can tell you what it is, though. No worries.
Wait. Is it in Instagram?
Yeah, in Instagram. Go.
Oh, I thought you meant through Millions. Whoops.
Yeah,
it's the actual. It's the last thing you posted, right? The New York Post.
The last thing I posted. Brandon, do you want to read this?
Oh,
what?
Jesus!
What on God's green earth?
Yeah. Japanese woman, 80, so she's 80 years old, scammed out of thousands by astronauts stranded in space who needed money for oxygen. This is one of
Is this the Onion?
No. This is a real story. I found. I found the New York Post article, but I swear this is real.
I'm being sarcastic.
No, I'm just telling you. I'm just telling our audience. This is a real story that was everywhere this past week, and I saved it because I knew this was going to get a reaction.
I love that one of the first big sentences here, like the second paragraph in, calls him the Galaxy Grifter. I love that. That's a hilarious nickname, but. Here's the thing. It's like older people like that. You're unfortunately you're susceptible to things. You're a little more gullible. Your faculties don't work the way they used to. But even at that age,
this is next level. This is
How?
next level.
Like, this is the Nigerian prince scam times like 100,000. Because like it's already bad enough when people get fooled from people by other countries about sending money and whatnot. How in God's name do you?
We've all been victims of scams. We've all had scams, but this is different.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
I have to read that again. Japanese woman 80 scammed out of thousands by, quote, astronaut stranded in space who needed money for oxygen. Where in any universe have you ever had to pay for oxygen?
That's a point I didn't actually think about.
Like, I see. Unfortunately, a lot of these scams do target the elderly because they are more just susceptible and just gullible, and then things don't work how they did. But there's got to be a line to some point where it's like, no matter how old you are, how do you get fooled by that? How do you get fooled by that? And
I have to figure out if astronaut stranded. I have to find out if this astronaut was Florida man, because that is the only way this article would be even more over the top.
Is this the alternate timeline for Interstellar?
Oh Jesus Christ!
Is it? Because what is seriously? What is this? Like, it is literally almost like this is so outlandish that you would believe it's on The Onion or like the Babylon Bee or whatever it is. Like
that was the other.
Like oh my god! Like that's one thing. Like to get scammed. People might get scammed out of like $1,000, $2,000.
People get scammed all the time. People got scammed all the time. We've all experienced scams in our own way. It's happened.
Yeah.
She got scammed out of $6,700.
Oh my god.
$6,700.
It's still not even the amount of money that's catching me. It's money for oxygen. I keep coming back to that phrase. Where in I don't care if you're going to Eris or another planet. Where have you ever seen somebody where have you ever seen a merchant just posted up with a sign just basically offering oxygen for by the hour?
It's like
by the hour. We're going to the extra level.
There's legit there's one of my favorite Eminem lyrics comes from a song called Bad Meets Evil, and it's like it's outlandish. He's describing like how pretty much how ruthless he and Royce the 5'9" are, like in the song, like as a duo. And one of the lines that's near the end of the song, Eminem literally says, "And when I go to hell and I'm getting ready to leave, I'm gonna put air in a bag and charge people to breathe." So it's like that's all I can think about. Like in this thing is like. Do you hear how outlandish that is to rap that phrase? How outlandish is this?
Then again, when it comes from Eminem, nothing sounds outlandish to me.
Nothing is. But like I'm saying, like
this is the guy who wrote Kim. So,
but like you hear how comical that line is and how funny, like how just kind of sinister but funny it is. Like same thing here, like. It's sad because it's an elderly woman that gets scammed, but it's like, come on, man! Like you're getting scammed by someone who's claiming to be out in space.
How do you send the money?
We also missed this part in the beginning. We also missed this part in the beginning. The opening sentence. He promised the stars.
Oh. wait. Here's my question: did she just send the money through MoneyGram? Like, let me send it through MoneyGram or something out in space.
I don't.
Would you wire it? Like, how does the satellite get the money there?
It just shoots up.
Or is it really?
Oh Jesus!
Is it literally like this? Is it legit like Interstellar, where he gets he's getting the tapes, but it's like lost in transmission for years? So he's missing like we're getting like that time warp thing. So it's like, she might be sending the money in that moment, but he's getting it 10 years later. So actually, what's funny? If this was a real scenario and an astronaut didn't need money for oxygen, it would, by the time it gets there, he'd be dead. Like if this was to ever be a realistic thing.
Oh my God. Scoop's reading more of the article. Please go. Oh Jesus. What do you got?
Okay. So it's kind of referencing other similar things, like similar situations that came up. U.S. postal investigator oversaw a fraud department was charged with stealing more than 330,000 from packages mailed by victims of a scam to criminals in Jamaica.
Jesus.
That is an absolute. That is like that. Talk about words. It's not word salad. Like it's word salad in terms like that is a really long-winded. Like people will
It's a
go to
long-winded
great.
way to say you lost money.
Yeah,
or gain money.
but like people will go to. This is just proving to everybody, and this is what we're talking about with the NFL owners and like we're talking about money, money and ratings. This is how desperate people will get for money.
Yeah.
Like,
But
this is how it's
on the other side of it, it's the lengths that people will go to instead of you go and get a real job. It's the lengths that people will go to sit behind their computer in a basement bunker somewhere, and hook up God knows what amount of tech and software and God knows what hackery to find somebody else in another country on another continent got in GMT minus 37 and find and it's just insane to me. Like, can you imagine how much more functional the world would be if all those people were actually doing real jobs?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Just unbelievable. Anyway, hope that made your night. Jesus.
Yeah, really. What a way to close that out.
Brandon, if you thought the last couple of years of post-credit scenes were bad or stupid, have fun with this. Might get worse.
Wait a minute. Look at this. And did you see the sentence right after that? By the way. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait, hold on. This gets worse. We're talking about how each sentence of this story gets worse. So most of those victims in that Jamaican scheme, whatever it is, that the U.S. Postal Service scheme, some of those victims, they mailed, some of them was 1,400, which is already ridiculous. Listen to this. One of them mailed $19,000. I don't care who you are, Rob. Why would you give, these are not rich people. Like, these are people over the age of 75. It's $19,000. It's not $19. It's not $190. It's over $19,000. And wait, this gets worse because, oh my God. Here's the best one. This is the greatest sentence I think I've ever read. And I remember hearing about this story, but I didn't remember how much she actually sent to this guy. A French woman was suckered out of $850,000 by a romance scammer pretending to be an ailing Brad Pitt who used AI who used AI generated selfies of him in a hospital bed to get her to give the money. Now, okay, multiple things are very wrong here.
Brad Pitt just started in the F1 movie.
Yeah. First of all, Brad Pitt is well known. If something happened to him, you would know about it. So first of all, ailing that's already bad enough. So, okay, ailing Brad Pitt, you would know something happened to him. That's pretty bad on your part already. Now, it's also, why would Brad Pitt
Testing?
Who?
You're good.
Yeah, are we talking about the person who thought they were married to
Brad Pitt?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
good. I didn't miss anything.
So, like I was saying, there's just three things that are automatically to me. I'm like that. It's one sentence in the story, but there's already three things that are blowing my mind about this. Brad Pitt, if he was ailing, you wouldn't know about it. No matter what age you are, you would know about it. You have technology. You would know if he was in the hospital, on life support, whatever it is, God forbid.
Exactly.
You would know. That's number one. So, we'll get to the money last. Second of all, Brad Pitt has kids. He's dated multiple women. He's been married to Angelina Jolie. Why? Why would he reach out to a random French woman to try to woo her? That is never, ever, ever going to happen. That's number 2. Number 3, it is $850,000. It is so close to being $1 million. On who on God's green earth has that much money to hand? Like, do you know how ridiculous it is to hand over that kind of money just willingly
To anyone.
To anyone? I don't care. God, this is gonna sound so bad. If my mother was on her deathbed, God forbid, who has $850,000 to give to save her life? Like, I don't have that money to save her life. I don't have that money to give to like anybody in need.
How about a random famous person?
That's a random famous person over the internet
who doesn't know you exist.
Thank you. Like who? Oh my God! Like, any kind of money is bad enough, but $850,000? Are you serious? Like, do we know how stupid that number is? $850,000 is enough to where the average person wouldn't have to work for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Like that's how stupid that number is. Like 5 or even 10 if you're good with your money. But like my God, like all these scams, like we live in an era where it's like people have been scamming each other, even through mail way back in the day, 50s, 60s, whatever. But so even people who are older now, who are in their 70s, 80s, whatever, you've seen so many different kinds of scams. You've even seen the rise of tech. And I'm sure that 20 years ago when they were younger, in their 40s, 50s, whatever, when they were still cognizant, or at least fully cognizant, like, what to look for. Like, even back then, people would scam you, be like, hey, I'm so and so. I'm having a big gig tomorrow night, but I can't get to the stage because my car broke down. So hey, can you send me $1 million? You would say right then, you would say no. So in today's day and age of 2025, first of all, any message from somebody I don't know, I'm not answering it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't answer my phone if I don't know the number. I don't answer a message if I don't know who it's from.
We were talking about the people of advanced age a couple of minutes ago, and the one that was popular for a while, I don't know if it still is, but the one that was popular for a while was hey grandma, it's me. I'm in the the Uki mountains of Wyoming, where I think there's 3 people that have ever been in their entire life. I'm very sick. I need you to wire me $700,000. I'm sorry. Who has access to wiring for funds in Wyoming in the mountains? Who has access to cell service in the Wyoming, in the mountains?
Yeah.
Like, and it's like what's bizarre is some of the things too. Like, there's people out there that unfortunately lost family members or whatever it is, or like I've heard stories of people even being fooled, like, hey, like, I'm your so and so, like, dead family member, give me money. That person is dead. Like,
where is that money going?
They can't ask you for money.
I swear I saw this specific one once. It was like, I'm a wealthy oil prince from
Nigerian
Africa.
prince.
Who your father has banished me from the family, for he is very jealous, and like all this.
He's actually, I'm actually your uncle and all this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, with that, I'm glad you guys enjoyed that.
Yeah, same here. This was a football show, wasn't it?
It was at one point.
It was at one point. This is what
very long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Where there's oxygen, you have to pay by the hour.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
But yeah, for Brandon, for Scoop, for myself, we will see you back here on Monday night after Monday Night Football thank you guys for a great show, and thank you all for joining us. We will see you tomorrow night.
Good night, y'all.
See you, boys.